Hold on just 1 second. Okay. So good work, everyone. Here we have traversed the first Shabbos of Elul. So we'll visit Sichos Haran appropriately enough. The Sikha tonight deals with the tzaddik. So hold on just 1 second. Here it is. All right. Sikha 24. There speaks about the big mile of somebody who merits to give money to tzaddik emes. And he says, Ma'alas hazoy chaliten moes letzaddik emes. Higdola v'yakora me'oid is great and very, very precious. And now Rabbeinu gives a mashal, he explains. The mashal, a son that shisrachik me'aviv, the son that was distanced from his father. The son has big longings to his father. The father has, great longings to his son. The father has reflected, decided to go and travel to his son. The son also reflected, something? I'll go and travel to my father. And they went to travel to one another. The closer they got, their longings became greater and greater. And they were traveling towards one another. The father to the son to the father. They got so close to one another, they were only 2 miles apart. And when they got that close, the father understood, that his longings are so great that if he will allow himself, if he would still, be pulled by the longing, he won't have the koyach to withstand the longing of these last 2 miles. And if you will continue with that, chas v'shalom is he'll pass away. That he won't have the koyach to suffer the gaguim, and the son also. He saw that it doesn't have the koyach to withstand the gaguim of these last 2 miles, and if he'll continue, his soul will leave him. Chas v'chalila. They decided, they reflected, that they're going to throw away all the longing and just pass it and just stop thinking about it. And during that, somebody came with a wagon and grabbed the son and brought him to his father in great speed. He says, Kama tanug niflo ve'otzum. What an amazing pleasure, a wondrous, amazing pleasure. The person that brought the son to the father, that person have caused both to the son and the father. It's such longings to one another. Rabbeinu says as follows: the same principle applies. That's the one who merits to be called the son to Kodesh Baruch Hu, you know, not like, you know, Yisrael Shechata Yisrael, you know, even though Apostle Yisrael, as long as the name Yisrael is remains on him, you know, he's called Bani Matan Lamayki Lashem Elokeichem. You're still children. The tzaddik was somebody who has already totally stepped into the manifestation, to the role, of a son. He's no longer in the level of a slave at all. I mean, he does the avodah of a slave. As Rabbeinu says in another Sicha that we have learned, I don't remember which Sicha it was, that a son that loves his father so much, you know, in order to cause his father pleasure, he takes upon such tasks, such lowly tasks that even a slave wouldn't take him on, because he loves his father so much. A son like this, the father gives him the keys to all the treasuries. Because it's a known thing. It's a known thing by any father. The most natural thing for a father is to want to have a good and totally trustworthy son. It's the biggest pleasure a father can have. I mean, if, let's say, the father owns a business, so he will take his son into the business. He will take his wife into the business, but they will only get the kind of responsibility and therefore the kind of authority to make decisions, you know, to spend money or whatever it is that, you know, in direct proportion to how trustworthy and reliable they are, how responsible they are, how loyal they are. A loyal son is one with his father, totally. The father reveals everything to him. If the son is not on that level, so he's as a shtickle pchinas eved, a shtickle little bit of is still a little bit of a slave. In other words, he still has his own, you know, he still has his own interests in mind. You know, he wants to get away with things. He wants to, you know, maybe his shikol odas is not 100%. But a son, which is on the ball, which is totally trustworthy, is the biggest pleasure for a father, because he and the father are one thing. And this is the level that we're talking about. A tzaddik shu ben Hashem yisbarach, because of the screen that separates this world with Kodesh Baruch Hu. Yes, he's far from his father. That Kodesh Baruch Hu longs for him. To come back to get closer to Kodesh Baruch Hu. And as they're getting closer to one another, until they're so close, until there's just a little distance, they understand that vis-a-vis the greatness of the longing that they have to one another, that it's impossible to take it anymore. So they agree, you know, just to throw the longing away. It's like a Kodesh Baruch Hu saying, "What? This is the only business I have. I have, you know, endless worlds to take care of." The tzaddik also says, "What? This is the only avodah that I have. These longings, all kinds of avodas that need to do, like tzitzis, tefillin, and other mitzvahs. And they agree within themselves just, to shift their minds from the longings. And while this is going on, comes Ish Israeli, comes a Jew with a wagon and brought the tzaddik parnasa. And with this, he brought him to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Ki tzaddik oichel esov nafsho. The eating of the tzaddik is an amazing thing. Zeh b'chinas, as it says in Mishlei, Proverbs 13:25. Zeh b'chinas v'yisbia b'tzachtzachos nafshecha. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, will satiate in something that's called tzachtzachos. These are the supernal lights. Your nefesh. It's a b'chinas, satiate b'chinas achila. You're satisfied. You finished. You're full. Yimtza she'atzadik hagadol ha'amiti, the great real tzaddik, zoichet through his parnasa and his eating to an aspect of oiris hatzachtzachos. Oiris hatzachtzachos, these are the lights and the asagas which are beyond all the oilness. As Rabbeinu says in the Ma'amah, of Nai Nechalim, is beyond Olam Atzilus. When there's no name, there's still lights there. And the Rebbe says in the Ma'amah of Tesar Chalim, he says that in order to get the saga of these Olamas, the mind is running to be Maseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it bangs against the barrier that limits the Olamas. And the force of the banging of the intellect running to a grasp and the barrier that holds it back, it creates a bulge, as it were, a vacuum, which pulls into it oris tzachtzachos, asagas which are beyond all the oilmas. So the tzaddik, when he eats, his achilas b'chinas oris tzachtzachos. And it is through this tzachtzachos, and this removes the masach hamavdil, says the Sichos. There's a tzaddik niskar Hashem Yisbarach. That brings the tzaddik close to Hashem. He's therefore found how much pleasure this person that gave parnasa the tzaddik amiti, that through this he brings the tzaddik to Hashem Yisbarach. Amazing Sichos. One of the things that people fail to understand, they see people that are el chiyidin, that have no parnasa. They suffer through like amazing poverty. The children of Shmuel Shapir, Zecher Tzadik Livrocha, they said that, that like in their home when they grew up, they were hoping that a flying bird would drop a piece of bread so they have something to eat. And the mind can sort of like, take a rather dim view of that situation. It says like, Zot Torah v'Zot Schara. Here's a person that does everything to get close to Kadosh Baruch Hu, that is sacrificing his everything. Why people don't come and give him money, give him food, whatever it is? The reason for it is because those people are not zoiche to give money and food to somebody of that nature, of that stature. There's an amazing story by the Kamarna. So he writes it in his sefer. I'm not sure which is what it's Isaac from Kamarna or whoever it is that I haven't seen it in my own eyes or heard it from Simcha Balev. He was the son-in-law of the Rebbe of Zusha from Aniton. And he writes, I think in the Akdama, but I'm not sure, I don't know, I haven't seen it. He says that he heard the Maisa that I'm telling you from the Rebbe Reb Zusha himself. Okay, it's not that he heard that. No, his father-in-law told him himself. He said that Rebbe Reb Zusha, his derech, before, he was exposed and everybody realized what an amazing tzaddik he was sitting in the Beis Medrash and he was learning. And he was learning, he was davening, whatever it is. And then when he would become hungry, he would go to someone and ask him if he has a piece of bread. And they would give him and he would eat. And one day, it fell on his mind. He was Messiah and he said, why should I go and ask people to give me bread? I was looking to learn. And whoever gives me bread will give me bread. Whoever comes, And he says, I almost starved to death. And he said that, but he decided, that's it. So he said that 2 teeth inside his mouth, listen to this, 2 teeth inside his mouth opened up, like back molars or whatever, and honey came from one, and milk came out from another. And this sustained him. And this sustained him until somebody came and gave him a piece of bread, then it stopped. And the Kamarna said that the Rebbe of Zusha took his finger, the Kamarna's finger, and put it in his mouth and showed him where these 2 teeth were. And the Kamarna says, come and take a look. What a precious thing it is to give parnasa, to give food to the tzaddik. It's such a high thing to be zeicher to it, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu would rather make a miracle that from his own mouth, 2 teeth would open up and give sustenance to Rebbe Zusha, rather than somebody who is not worthy should give parnasa to the tzaddik. It's amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. The step forward from that, besides the fact, of course, of what it means to give for the Rebbe's inyanim, anything, printing svarim, building a medrash, whatever. This is an amazing schus to give parnasa to the tzaddik that way. But it's more than just that. It also tells you something about your own eating. It is so easy for us to look at the tzaddikim, and we hear the sichos like this, maises like this. On one side, they're very comforting. Baruch Hashem, we have such tzaddikim that we can rely on them. And by giving to them and connecting to them, our own lives, gain meaning, gain importance. But it also might have an effect of actually distancing us. Like, okay, it's them, this is me, I don't belong to that stature. I'm not part of that league. And it's true. But the thing is that you have to understand that your own parnasa is just as important. You're serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu with this. There are all kinds of, I don't want to say malfeasance, that's too harsh a word, but we tend to take our own parnasa rather lightly. We're talking rather lightly. I mean, I'm banging my heads against the wall. What do you mean take it lightly? What I mean lightly is we don't realize how holy our food is. So when we feed our families, if we feed our families money that is not 100% kosher, the results is that the children themselves go off the derech. The parnasa, the money, how we're earning it. And then the food, to make sure that it's kosher, really kosher. And then get more elevated and realize, we have this, I saw an amazing thing. Rav Nosson is really, giving the Dickens to the atheists. And he said, that they have all kinds of reasons why the mitzvahs were given like this and like this. And he said that they said that the mitzvahs is all your tikkun ha'olam, is all social and whatever. And he laughs at this, and he says, so anybody who looks at life, he says, for social order, whatever it is, he says, why would a Kadosh Baruch Hu create such a world? A magnificent machine, like a human being. only, from dust, it only should turn to dust. If you're talking about social order, he says most of life is anguish, it's suffering. Even they know it. Baruch Hashem, there's the Nekudas Tevis all the time. But in our cognition, the thing that really shines to us all the time is that, when the suffering comes, life is full of pain. If you tell each other, our story, it looks like, whoa, it's like Les Miserables come all over again. Each and every person. What's the point? If it's not for Olam Above, it's not everything to lead you, Kadosh Baruch Hu, what's the point in all this? What kind of narishkeit it is? It comes to tell you the food that you're eating, that I'm eating, is to connect the neshama and the body together, so I can serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu, so it can bring me and you to the tachlis. How precious this food is. The Tzara wants to pull the food down and say, I think I'll have the ribeye. Medium rare. That's what I'd like. But yeah, make it the baked potato on the side. No, no butter on it. I'm kosher. The idea is that the more sanctified you are with your food, the higher it raises you. This inyan of Kedushas Ha'achila and this inyan of giving parnasa to another yid is extremely precious. Extremely precious. That's the reason why you should be very careful with your money. Not to throw money around, because your parnasa is very precious. It's so easy to get, like a fly in a spider's web. But you don't understand what the heck happened, and suddenly you can't move. The more you struggle, the tighter the webs that are wrapped around me. If a person has yeshiva das amiti, my parnasa is a real chosh of a thing. Because I'm a real chosh of a thing. I'm a Jew. And I'm a kush of the tzaddik emes. And Rashi says in that halacha, it says, Gzeil halacha dalad meinach. It's all, no, in the Zikin. And he says, Ve'amech kulam tzaddikim is because we are all close to the tzaddik. And the tzaddik is judging each and every one of us l'kaf schos. And with that judgment, we are also called tzaddikim. So we are all connected to the tzaddik. We are all connected. We are all called tzaddikim. Our parnasa is an extremely important thing. The man said, "If she b'derech eretz." Treat your eating with tremendous respect. Your parnasa with tremendous respect. You're working hard for your money. That means that you're getting your money b'yosher. That's not a simple thing. That brings you closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Treat your belongings properly. Okay, well, you bought something. Rabbeinu was very makpid on this. When people, the people lost things, he says, okay, it was basher. He didn't like it at all. He says, people spend so much time to work on parnas, and then they buy something they're not careful with, and then they lose it. So that's just not right. You just don't have the right appreciation to how important you are. How important is your parnasa? How important is your eating? How sacred your eating is. It's a wonderful thing when he speaks about that the tzaddik is 2 miles away. 2 miles away. What is this 2 miles? It's just an awful tangent that Moshe Rabbeinu, it says about, he reached so high, it was like a tefach between him and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, tefach is like 9 centimeters, 10, something like that. It's a tefach. What does it mean? There is a halacha about how wet things can be on Shabbos without chashash of schita. So it says you're not allowed to handle a towel that is wet enough that when you rub your hand on it, your hand is wet enough to make something else wet. It's called a tafeach al manat le'atpiach. That it's wet, it's wetting enough to wet something else. Tefach. Now, the eating of tefach, this eating of giving juice, of giving, is a euphemism for Alois man, is Alois for his erus the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Is tefach hamat le'atpiach. Is two his erus from one another, one from Kadosh Baruch Hu and one from him. The road, I can talk about these things, that what I was saying now, until I'm blue in the face. And nobody will take any of this in. The reason that we don't is because looking at myself, what you're talking about. I know you're right, but still, it's like, come on. It's me afterwards we're talking about. Let's not go overboard. You're talking about tzaddik. Okay, I understand. Me? I'm saying, okay, I know you're right. In principle, you're right. In Hebrew, it's a begadol. You're right. But let's be realistic, it's like you won't say it because it sounds apicosive, but okay. The reason for it is because I don't accept myself. The way that I am. What does it mean? It means that what I think I am, or what I see, what my story is, what my limitations are, this is unacceptable. This is not. I didn't sign up for this. If I was only this or only that, I understand. But this is not. I don't understand as well as other people can understand. I'm not as quick as other people. I'm not as sharp. I don't have that much, stick-to-itiveness. I don't have that strength of character, to just ram through an iron door, like the bull of what's his name, Daniel Webster. And the devil that had horns like something ivy that could butt through an iron door. Some people have this iron willpower. I wish I had that. Meaning that I don't. No. So how do you want me to accept myself? There's so many things about me that are, excuse me for saying it, I don't want to put myself down, but it's so pathetic. Let's call a spade a spade. It's so pathetic. You expect me to accept that? Let alone, how people treat me and society around me and all that. You can only accept it when you realize that everything you think about you, all your self-image, all your traits, is not you. It's not the real you. It's the vehicles, it's the conditions, it's the assignment that you got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the tikkun of your neshama. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have very easily given you the IQ of Einstein, and the will of I don't know who. No problem. But that's not your mission. When you realize the way you are, just the way you are, with the people around you, just the way they are, it's only the assignment. It's only the tools with which you have. I mean, it's like, somebody's playing basketball, and you're saying, listen, yeah, but I can't kick the ball with my feet. So come on, just throw it with the hands all the time. I should do it with my feet. Well, but that's not the game. You're supposed to play basketball. I mean, being somebody, having different tools is not your game, is not your inyan. This is what the Tom said to his wife when she asked him, why you earn only this much per shoe and they are earning, if you like your shoes so much and it's so gewaldic, whatever you do, how come they charge double what you do? So he said, Ze inyan, ze ma'aseh shelo, ze ma'aseh sheli. This is his chore, this is his mission, this is mine. What we got to talk about others? Let's take a look and see what I do. I put on film, I get up in the morning, whatever it is. I know from Beino, I want to go to Uman. I do whatever it is that I do. If you get to Uman, you don't get to Uman, it's fine. If you want to get to Uman, you don't get there. Wherever you are is Uman, fine. As long as you want to get to Uman. If you don't want to get to Uman altogether, so wherever you are, even in Uman, you're not in Uman. That's not true. But, it says you don't get to Uman without wanting to get to Uman. But as Rabbeinu brings you there, then you are in Uman, I says, anyhow. So it was just like, but the main point is that only when you accept yourself, like, what do you want to accept? I enjoy when people give me compliments. So I'm doing a lot of things for people to give me compliments. I'm supposed to accept that? Yeah. First of all, everybody's like that. And secondly, if I have this kind of, let me see if I can use it for what it's Hashem. But in the meantime, this is who I am. This is how I am. Davening can change things. Davening is that way. The apex is the tzaddik. But the tzaddik went through Yom Madrega also. The Beinu said the tzaddik went, people tend to think, the tzaddik is like he was put on top of the heap. He was born perfect. And he says, not so. The tzaddik went through every single step, including where you're holding, on his way up. There's still hope for you and me. Besides the fact, that we can be tzaddikim. We're close to the tzaddik, we can be tzaddikim. In fact, we are tzaddikim to an extent. Maybe 1%, maybe 2%. But it's the real deal. It's the McCoy. B'ezrat Hashem, Hashem should help us. We should all be zeicher to do tshuva shleimo during this incredible month of Elul. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should all be zeicher to be in Tzin Rabbeinu of Rosh Hashanah, Mitzvah Hashem, easily, without manias, without having to borrow money, chas v'chalila, without having to do whatever it is that Kodesh Baruch Hu will give it to us, everything easily, and the shefa godol, with nachas ruach, and with good health, and with a lot of simcha, a lot of simcha. We should all have a tremendous, tremendous good voch. And in Yitzhak Hashem, this Monday will continue, and Sipurei Maisis. Shkoyach and good voch to everyone.